This
Hi everyone, here I am again. So let's get started with our lecture finally. Today we will start with chapter number 1. Let me zoom in my page so makes things easier for us. Moving myself to the corner. So this, as most of you already know, is the book that we are going to be using this semester, Fundamentals of Anatomy and Physiology, Martini. We are using the 11th edition. I hope that at this time, most of you guys already have the book, so we can move on faster. Okay, here I'm going to start with our learning outcomes. If you are not familiar with the term learning outcomes, the learning outcomes are what we are expected to learn in that lecture. Okay, so for today, we will define anatomy and physiology and explain the relationship between these sciences. We also are going to make an overview of the several specialties of each of those disciplines. We will identify the major levels of organization in the organism, starting with the most simple one, until the most complex, and also identify the major components of each organ system. We will describe the origins of the anatomical and physiological terms that we will call terminologia anatômica. Okay? We will start using the correct anatomical terms to describe our body regions and sections, also the relative positions. We will identify the major body cavities of the trunk and the subdivisions, each of the quadrants, and describe briefly the functions of each of them. We are going to talk today about a very important concept in biology, that is homeostasis. And also, we will get to understand a little bit more the negative feedback and positive feedbacks and how these mechanisms are involved in the homeostatic regulation. So, the Zoom is odd. Um, in our outcome 1.2, we will start with anatomy. Let me get a pen so I can make my notes. Anatomy is the science that studies structures. And how will I know? Anatomy is a word that comes from the Latin. So, tomus means parts or structures. So, in anatomy, the biggest interest of anatomy or anatomists, people that study anatomy, is to describe the structures of the body, what they are made of, where they are located, and what are the associated structures. Physiology is the opposite of anatomy. Physiology also comes from the Latin physios. Is related to process. And logos. Logos means study of. So when you see biology, bio is life, and log come from the logos, that is study. Oops. So we know that biology is the study of life, and physiology is the study of these processes. Physiology is interested in the functions of the anatomical structures that we studied before and how the functions of several individual structures they cooperate to the whole system. So there is no point in studying anatomy without physiology. It's very complicated to study parts without knowing their functions and studying their functions without knowing their structures. Because of this, in this course, we study all together anatomy and physiology as a whole. In this course, we will focus in human anatomy. All of you guys, or majority, might be taking this course for health careers. So the main point is to know the human body. And we will start with gross anatomy. Gross, from the Latin big. So gross anatomy studies structures that don't need a microscope, that are big enough to be seen with your bare eyes. So this type of anatomy is gonna analyze or study the surface, the exterior features of the determined part, the regional anatomy, just the torso or just the appendices. We have sectional anatomies that study the cross sections of the body. The systemic anatomy that is gonna focus in the organ system, the structure of the systems. We also have clinical anatomy that focuses in structures that have medical importance or medical specials. We also have developmental anatomy that starts since the conception until the adulthood, because since we are embryos, our body is constantly changing, not just in size, but the structures also suffer modification during the developmental process. So here, embryology is the science logos that studies the embryo. So one advice for you guys, keep notes because this course is heavy in Latin and Greek. So there are several prefixes and suffixes that have meaning. So when you learn the meaning of those words, it makes easier to understand what we're studying. In human anatomy, we also have the microscopical anatomy, micro. Micro is 10 to the minus 6 power. So they are structures really, really small that you need the aid of a microscope to examine. So we have cytology, where cytos is cell and logos is study. So cytology is the study of the cell, and histology, histos is tissue. Histology is the study of the tissues. Human physiology, on the other hand, is interested in the process involving the determined structure. So we have cell physiology that's going to study all the processes happening inside the cell, basically the functions of the determined cell. Organ physiology is going to study the function of specific organs per se, so individual organs and their functions. But when we talk about systemic physiology, is the study of a combination of those organs that make up an organ system and how the functions of the organs they interfere or they work together with the other organs. We also have the pathological physiology. Pathos is disease. So in this portion, in the pathology, we focus and study the diseases that affect organs or systems. And then talking about cells, organ system, we face the levels of organization. We know that the basic unit for life is a cell, but things start much earlier than a cell. So we have different levels of organization. The most basic, the most simple level of organization is the chemical level. When we are looking at the chemical level, We study atoms that are the smallest stable units of matter. So all the matter is composed by atoms. And we have molecules. Molecules, they are groups of atoms that get together. At the cellular level of organization, we have the cells. The cells, they are the smallest living unit. You need a cell to start a tissue, and then this tissue is going to become an organ, and organs make up system. And so our basic unit to have life is a cell. At the tissue organization, we have a group of cells that are similar. They have the same function and the same structure. So they get together and they work together. A tissue is a group of cells with same structure and same function. Several tissues, they make up an organ. Organs, they are made of one or more tissues. Tissues are groups of cells. So we can have two different groups of cells getting together, making up two or more um, tissues that together they will make up an organ, like our heart, our lungs, our intestines. They are groups of tissues. And then we have above that the organ system level. So in our urinary system, we have different organs that interact, that work together to perform a function. We have the bladder, we have the, the ureters, we have the genital urinary tract, and all these organs together, they perform the activity of excreting things that are not useful for our body. They excrete wastes. Or for example, our circulatory system that's composed by the heart, lungs, veins, arteries, blood, all working together to provide nutrition and oxygenation to our organs and remove wastes. So in this organ system level, we have um, in our body, in the human body, we have 11 organ systems. In these systems, they make up an organism. I am an organism, you are an organism. So all the living things, they are organisms. And at an individual life form is an organism. It can be animal, it can be a plant, all of those, each individual life type is a form of organism. So here we start in a combination of atoms that are going to form molecules, and a combination of molecules can make up a protein, several proteins. They make up filaments. And when we have several filaments working together, we have a muscle tissue. And muscle tissue, in this case, we have cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is the basic structure that composes the heart. The heart is gonna, in the organ level, is gonna interact with another different organs, making up a system. And here we call cardiovascular system that's composed by the heart. Heart is cardios, and vascular, that are the veins, the arteries that are going to distribute the blood. And these organs making systems, several systems working together, are going to make us an organism. So we have some different organ systems in our body. We have the integumentary that protects our body, for example, skin, the fat that isolate. We have the skeletal system that is essential to keep our posture up straight, to protect our soft organs, and to aid with movement. The muscular system, when it interacts with the skeletal system, it contracts, it causes us to move, and also provide our body cushion, protection, and also basic functions of most of the organs. We have the nervous system, that is the processing center that commands our body activities. We have the endocrine system that works as a regulator, producing, excreting hormones. And we have the cardiovascular system, composed by heart, by blood, veins, arteries, that is going to distribute everything through all our body organ systems and tissues. We also have the lymphatic, respiratory, digestive, urinary, and reproductive system that we are going to see further in the next chapters. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video here, and I see you guys in the next video.